Now, Smolder, I understand the school can be a bit drafty, but that doesn't mean you can breathe fire anywhere you want.
Guidance Counselor Starlight makes her doors open to the school attendees for the entirety of the school day. This, unfortunately, has affected her social life as she blows off plans with her social circle, in particular, the great and powerfully obnoxious Trixie. It gets so bad, she shirks her party gathering checklist for a spring solstice party with Sunburst, Maud, and Mudbriar. Feeling the pressure from her friend, she closes the door on Silverstream, only to have potentially disastrous consequences at the party.
Silverstream is missing!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to At the Screening. I'm the voice of reason.
And you already know who I am. Today's episode is Student Counsel and is... whatever.
I take it you ran out of Tylenol?
Worse. I didn't feel the need to take any. I'm conflicted again.
Well, that makes one of us because I really enjoyed this episode, and not in a guilty pleasure sense. I really think this is a legit good episode.
I mean, I want to say it is too, as it does have a good moral. But at the same time, this features two of my most hated characters, and it's written by one of my least favorite writers who, don't get me wrong, has some good episodes under his belt, like Bloom and Gloom, Leap of Faith, Stranger Than Fanfiction, It Isn't the Main Thing About You, and Meltdown. But he's also written some horrible episodes like The Cutie Remark, To Where and Back Again, Road to Friendship, and... I don't want to do this! Can't we talk about something else, like the Dazzlings coming back and find the magic?
Well, hang on,
please?
calm down. Let's unpack this one thing at a time. Let's start with Starlight and the moral. Now, both of us can agree that Starlight was a major problem in the episode. We know she operates in extremes with her choosing one action and then abruptly switching to the opposite action to disastrous results. It's no different here. Starlight is always putting her work, aka her students and their mundane to serious problems, before leisure. Now, some might say that's actually a good thing, as she's hyper-focused on her job. The problem is her work is taking away from her social life, and she's making it a 24/7 priority. It's no wonder she's portrayed as the Scrooge stand-in for a hearth-warming tale. Now, that being said, despite Starlight almost getting Silverstream petrified by cockatrices, she was the only character to fit this moral of balancing your work and social life. None of the main six need to learn/relearn this, nor does Spike, so the next logical conclusion to grasp, honestly a very adult moral, is glit. You know what? No, not even I'll sink that low.
Boy, you do realize that by even uttering the first syllable of that phrase, you've unleashed a hailstorm of trite against me in the comments, right? 'Cause yeah, saying that bloody phrase over and over will totally make me like Starlight more and won't be counterproductive in the slightest. I mean, everyone will eventually like something if it's shoved in their faces constantly, right?
Happy spring solstice?
Okay, look, you all know my stance on Starlight by now, and while, yes, she's not as bad nowadays, aside from Road to Friendship, there's still little things she does that still get under my skin. But I will be the bigger man, and I will agree that no other character would have fit a story or moral like this. But even then, this is another example of a story where the audience could figure out the solution to the conflict within the first 5 minutes. So, Starlight not hiring a substitute counselor to take over temporarily, forgivable if you don't think about it too much. And given the size of the student body, I'm actually glad that even they themselves don't just brush off the importance of a job like this. But the entire time watching the first act, I was thinking, why not just put out an out to lunch or be back later sign on the door? Ever thought of that? Oh wait, how stupid of me. That would imply you were actually thinking.
Yeah, even I'll admit, a posting of office hours would have easily solved the problem. This is basically what I like to call the pony point of view effect. An easy solution is presented, usually involving communication, but is otherwise ignored because there would be no story to tell. That was our main gripe of the episode. That being said, there was a lot of great moments that are certainly worth talking about.
Yes, as conflicted as I am, I will not deny some of the humor. Specifically Maud and Mudbriar. With all of her quips and such, Maud was probably the only character that was consistently funny here. And it was nice to see Mudbriar show other emotions aside from being a snobby, narcissistic know-it-all. Like, he actually showed embarrassment and regret after saying something out of turn where all eyes were on him. But still, nothing can beat Maud's quips when Mudbriar got turned to stone. Or more accurately, and no, I will not apologize for this, got rock hard. Boo! Aside from that, other little tidbits I did a double take at was, I believe, the second instance in the entire show since Hearts and Hooves Day of ponies using glue, and this one moment of Sunburst ramming into a tree and his horn is bent. Okay, we've seen unicorns in the hospital for cracked or even broken horns. How was he not in a catastrophic amount of pain after that?
The boy's got nerves of steel, I'll tell you. But referring back to the humor, given the episode's topic, one could make comparisons to Too Many Pinkie Pies. However, there are a couple things that separates the two episodes from each other. Too Many Pinkie Pies was more about time management in general, while Student Counsel was centered around a specific organization in regards to balancing work and play. Too Many Pinkie Pies humor was more over-the-top and visual-based. Student Counsel relied on witty dialogue.
I'm sorry you got turned to stone looking for me, but I'm glad Edith was able to turn you back.
How do you tell the difference?
I was on the floor laughing a riot, and while Maud and Mudbriar brought in several laughs, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, the standout of the humor for this episode was Trixie. I feel dirty for saying that, and yet I don't feel ashamed.
I'm sorry. What did you say about objectively worst horse?
Okay, yes, more times than not, Trixie is a terrible character. I don't care what half the fandom says. She's an obnoxious, selfish egotist that lacks any sort of tact in social situations. Perfect example, the entirety of All Bottled Up. But when she's frustrated and needs to contend with things not going her way, she will have the funniest lines and reactions. Moments like Trixie just sitting in the dark waiting for Starlight to show up in her office, or reacting to Mudbriar's quirk of correcting everyone's speech before he can finish his sentence, had me laughing the hardest this episode. Trixie was on her A-game for the first time since Magic Duel.
And yet, no one, and I mean no one, even bats an eyelash at lines like this.
I have a lot of experience telling ponies that I have experience with the dangerous creatures of Everfree Forest.
So, given that Trixie has a rich history of lying and manipulation, this is the second time since Boastbusters where she basically flat out admitted that she is a liar, and yet everyone is still okay with this? I'm sorry, why is she a fan favorite again? Countless meme faces a likable character does not make!
I don't know, I just thought that was a funny line. But I will say this, one thing that helps Trixie get a bit of a boost was her admitting that Silverstream not returning home was partially her fault. I'll take this admittance of blame as learning a lesson more than ignoring a lesson taught, because where would the fun in that be?
Alright, fair enough, I'll give you that. But it still doesn't change the fact that the friendship Trixie and Starlight share and what they put each other through due to their own selfishness is nothing short of toxic. I mean, would you let a friend of yours get away with turning down students that are clearly in need of immediate help and then force you to play hooky afterwards?
Well, no, but... Oh, crap, we forgot to talk about Silverstream! All I can say is, while she had, admittedly, some mundane questions about trying to explain taking a shower to her fellow hippogriffs, she gains major brownie points for taming a cockatrice. Not even Fluttershy can say she's accomplished that. I swear, every time, these students surprise me in one way or another to how great they are as characters.
And yet somewhere, somehow, Twilight is secretly raging how they're stealing her show. But yeah, overall, Student Counsel had its ups and downs, and I don't know, like I said before, I'm conflicted on how to feel about it, and I do want to be fair. The moral is a good moral to teach, but with it being attached to characters I don't like watching who constantly do things I don't agree with, whatever, I'm just gonna give it another Hooves neutral, and now I need my Tylenol. I'll see you next week.
Well, you go fetch some acetaminophen. I'm giving Student Counsel a hooves up. The humor was sharply timed, the moral was quite mature for it being this late in the season, and unlike another episode that I will argue till I'm blue in the face over is bad, I don't think of Starlight any less after a rewatch, and the moral doesn't come attached with negative implications. Next time, we return for what will be a very surprising episode as the Cutie Mark Crusaders venture on The Last Crusade. Hopefully no Nazis involved. Until then, thanks for coming by the balcony. From the both of us, we'll see you next time for At the Screening.